Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Kristen Stover with Moxie Administrative Services. She's a self-proclaimed career secretary. She began working as a mobile administrative assistant in 2015, and she was just helping a few small businesses and solopreneurs with back office administrative tasks. And then in 2018, she formally created Moxie Administrative Services. Up until that point, like many of us, our lives were very, very different. She's driving around in her car, going from client to client, helping in a very front-facing, person-to-person type environment. And then all I need to say is COVID-19, and everybody kind of knows the story from there. But that changed her business in a really remarkable way, and it's transitioned Moxie Administrative Services to mostly virtual. And I'm sure once she's gotten the opportunity to kind of share her story, you will agree, I don't think there's any going back for Kristen. So Kristen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I guess share with us the story. I've kind of given the end of the story, but how did it in 2015? Did you say, okay, listen, I'm gonna be doing this mobile administrative thing? You had a job before then?
Yeah, I was coming off of raising my kids, and in 2013, I decided I needed to go back to school and kind of brush up on my skills, and so I went for medical office administration. And the idea for this business was kind of seated at a scholarship luncheon. I was at this luncheon, and this gal gets up, and she's doing this virtual assistant thing, and she's talking about how her business grew. And I was thinking, well, that's all well and good, but there's some things that virtual people can't do. And namely paper. So I can't virtually touch your paper. And so the idea for my mobile business came with, I'm going to fill that niche because I'm sure there are people that are overwhelmed with the things that are on their desks. And so when I graduated in 2015, I got a job as a scribe in a physical therapy office, and was working there. And then on my birthday, they came in and they went, "Happy birthday. Here's some daffodils that we pulled up from our yard. And by the way, this is our new office manager. She'll be taking over what you do. You can work through lunch. Thank you very much."
Are you seriously on your birthday?
Serious. On my birthday, right? But hindsight, best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, I get that. I hear that story a lot. Best thing that ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. But just, are people that obtuse that, it's just
the timing. I consider it as, I think I was sad. I was going to miss some of the people in the office. Right. But they had transitioned me into more of a billing role, and I did not like that. So I was considering this as the universe was giving me a shove. So sure. I was like, okay, well, this is my opportunity to put this idea that I've been germinating to use. So I was out, and I met this couple, told them what had happened, and they were like, oh, and what my idea was, and they said, oh my gosh, we need you. And I'm still with him today. I'm still with that client today. And he's a financial advisor and tax guy and an author, and like he's all sorts of things, and paper is not his strong point. So he's my so I started doing that, and I was thinking that I was going to be growing, and I brought in other, I call them now Moxettes. I was going to expand my business, and as you mentioned, COVID COVID happened, and I had to let my Moxettes like go off on their own. And so I had to kind of rethink what business was going to look like. Like, okay, well, I guess I get to dip my finger into the virtual world and see what that is. And it took me probably 4 or 5 months to figure it out. And September, I started going, okay, it's time to get in and start networking. And I've been getting emails from all these different places. So I jumped on the Zoom, and truly it has changed my business. I am meeting people. I've got clients from all over the United States now. I'm busier than I ever had, and my Moxettes are coming back. So
the band is getting
the band's getting back together.
Oh, that's great. No, I mean, that's an awesome story. At what point, because you're taking these classes, and you're taking these classes, you've got a job, and I think we all fall into this. We got this job, and it's this life preserver that we just hold on to for dear life. We get treated like crap. We just hang on to it. Hey, it's our job. It's our job. And then you don't have it. And of course, then you ran into this couple. But at what point did you realize, what? I got to network.
I didn't start networking till 2018. The spring, before Moxie was officially founded, like before it was an official company. But one of my clients was like, really, you need to come to this, this local network business association. There is a really great group of people. And my initial thought of networking was it's a sales pitch, right? Yeah. It's like you go in, you say your thing, and people either want your stuff or they don't. And after going for probably 6 to 8 months, I started realizing that it's less about what I have to offer. It's really more about the relationships that you form, and who can I connect people with each other. So not necessarily me. I'm like, it's this really, networking's all about karma. It's going to circle around and coming back to me, right?
Yeah.
So the first couple of times, like I would meet somebody and they said something they needed, and I'm like, oh, I know somebody you should meet. And like making that and watching it work is it just tickles me to no end. To this day, every time I make that happen, it's just like, it's a little happy day. So I know you've got to know this feeling.
No, I do. You're speaking my language. I totally get it. I don't think you're crazy. I think there are a lot of people who probably think we're crazy, that it's, because I'll have a call with somebody and I'll, you need to talk to this person and this person and this person. Well, what can I do for you? And sometimes that just takes me totally off guard. It's like, well, really hadn't thought about that, and I just believe in karma, and I need to do a better job of that, of being ready and just trying to give them some way that they can help me. But I totally get where you're coming from, and it does come back to you.
In fact, it surprises me now when I'm on a one-on-one. I had one actually today. I had a one-on-one with a guy, and it turned into he was interested in my services, and it kind of threw me off my one-on-one game. It's like, I'm so used to tell me about you and I'll tell you about me, and you can tell me how I can help you. What kind of person should I be looking for that could help you, and vice versa. And when he was like, yeah, no, I think I'm interested in what you have to offer, it just totally like I just sit back for a second and wait, hold on. But another potential client.
Oh, that's good. That's that's
a blessing.
Well, it is. I mean, I think we stumble onto these things. We stumble and maybe that's karma at work, because it's kind of working in the background and you don't know. But we somehow or another we figure it out, and maybe sometimes we don't even figure it out. We're just dumb animals, and we just know that if we keep hitting the lever, that we keep getting fed, right? That's the way.
Exactly.
I don't know. I keep introducing people. I keep getting business. I have no idea how this works, but that's how it feels.
Oh my gosh, that's like the best way ever to describe
I know. Well, but it's so true, isn't it? Because you introduce two people, and the person who came to you today may or may not have been connected to any of that, right? It's seldom can we see that straight, bright line between here's our action and here's the pellet of food or whatever. We can't quite figure that out. And we're not supposed to, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
it's always so exciting and surprising to see where connections come from, because it's really not who that I know you, it's who you know.
Right.
It's who you know, that you never know when it's going to come back around, and it's fun to watch it work. Even if you're not like actually actively like looking for it, all of a sudden it's like, whoop, there's somebody that I can help, or that I know somebody that needs you, and it's really cool to watch that whole process work.
It's interesting. I was supposed to have a call yesterday, and the person canceled on me about an hour before, which to me is always kind of annoying, because it's really kind of wasted the time, because you really can't fill the time at that short of notice. But I had thought about canceling on them earlier in the week, because I asked people, why do you want to talk? And it was like, hey, let's see how we can partner up and do business with each other. And it just felt so rushed. And I love having conversations with somebody like you, where it's, hey, let's just talk about each other. Tell me about what you do. Let me tell you about what I do. You're just let this roll around in your head. And whenever you put that pressure on, that's when nothing comes of it. But when that pressure's not there to do something, then something unique can come out of the woodwork. And it's not always in the moment. It might be somewhere down the line, and heck, you'll take business down the line just as much as you'll take it today, right? Maybe
exactly. One of my favorite questions when I'm starting out with a one-on-one is, tell me about your journey of how you got to where you are now. Like, how did you get to be doing what you're doing now? Because many of the one-on-ones they're solopreneurs like me, like they have a unique business model, and I'm like, well, how did that happen? What was the story behind that? Because I love hearing the backstory, and you get these nuggets of information that just like, oh wait, there's a connection that I can make, and you just never know. So figure out a good deep dive question that you can ask.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's something that's just totally out of left field. It's something that they're, what was the one the other day? Somebody had it was a horse related thing, and I just happened to know somebody. It's like, oh, how about this? And it didn't make their world business wise, but it was certainly something personally that benefited them. Yeah. So let's talk about just for a bit, Moxie Administrative Services. What are some different things that you're doing virtually as a virtual assistant? Because like you're like, there's no paper. How can this work?
Right. That is a super good question, and that's one of the few questions that really trips me up. Simply because there's no one particular thing.
Sure.
that everybody needs something different. But where I'm finding the most joy personally right now is some of the creative stuff. So where a client is needing help with social media, and while that's not my bailiwick, I know somebody and we work together, and so I handle the graphic creating the graphics that they need for the posts and then just shooting it her way. And then she does all the hashtags and all the scheduling and all that other stuff, which is, that makes me itchy.
Right.
So, and blogs and emails, and where I get to scratch that creative itch right now, that's where my happy place is. But that being said, my Moxettes are skilled in so many ways across the board. I have some people that they just revel in doing research and finding out information, or digging. They're like more of an introvert, and they really don't want to be dealing with people, but they're good to go online and do the stuff. And I would consider myself more like a virtual office manager.
Okay.
So you need something done. Even if I can't do it, I probably know somebody I can, sub it out. So as if we're in the office, you need the carpets replaced. I'm like, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to find a carpet guy, right? So that's
Okay.
kind of the way that I look at Moxie, Mama Moxie.
Okay.
Right now is that, like, I'm your office manager. So let me take some of that pile of stuff off of your plate that's keeping you away from making the money.
Okay.
And we'll figure out how to outsource that.
And is this done hourly, contract, a little of both? Just depends.
A little of both, mostly hourly.
Okay.
But if it's a one-time project, we'll try and put together a package.
Right.
Here it is.
So somebody could come to you and get a consultation. Hey, this is.
Yes. I never charged for the first, the inquiry to even see if you like me. You might not. Everybody gels with my perky personality, and that's
well,
that's okay.
I have an assistant, and I have somebody else here helping, and I've always been intrigued by the whole notion of virtual assistants. It's like, okay, in fact, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and somebody has said, hey, listen, if you lose your staff, I know somebody that would be perfect. Yeah, but I'm not in Chicago, Illinois. It's 6 hours away. And I don't want to move the office. That's the tail wagging the dog, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But it has given me pause to think that, we live in a different world, and maybe the perfect person for the job is not in this area code, right? It could be 6 hours away.
Exactly.
And, just to be able to sit and kind of talk with somebody and say, well, here are all the things that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Here are things that I would be comfortable not doing. Here are things that I definitely don't want to do. How do we make, how can this happen?
Exactly.
And that would.
Yeah. I don't want to.
Go for it.
I don't want to offend anybody, but it's a silver lining to this COVID thing is that we've been forced to think outside of the box on how we can make things work, and it's changed things up for the better. And I can't see myself going back to in person, except for every once in a while. It's just really, there's so much that I can do and so much more productive that people can be virtually. Like, if you still need me to come, if you're here in Asheville, and you still need somebody to come and touch your paper, I'll come with my mask and my sanitizer, But let me be more productive with the virtual stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think maybe they're open to that, because I mean, you're totally right. In my business, we had a process that was very paper driven. Mm-hmm. People come visit, they get information, then they get an application. It's all paper driven. They fill out the application, send it in with a check. Different people touch it. It gets mailed in. We're talking days. Things get lost. Can't read handwriting. And we're like, okay, let's think about this. How would we do this? And we haven't figured out. We're 95% of the way there. We're doing it, right? I mean, there's no turning back. And to pay for it, was literally offset by the not having to do the printing one time. But it's just having that courage to stop and say, okay, wait a minute here. How does this look?
Yeah.
It's
getting off the hamster wheel, so to speak.
Yeah.
To stop and look. I call it, my people will ask me, what's your ideal client? And I call it the Winnie the Pooh syndrome.
Yeah.
It's the bump down the stairs. There's got to be a better way to get down to the bottom of the stairs. If only I could stop bumping long enough to stop and think about it.
Right.
That, the first paragraph in the very first book, I think, starts that way. So it's the same with a lot of these. This is the way we've always done it. If you can stop bumping long enough to think about it, and COVID kind of forced a lot of us to do that, stop bumping and look at it differently. So
here's a question. If you won $1 million in the lottery, how would you invest it in your business?
Oh my goodness.
Technology, something like that?
Probably some technology, a few, some more systems. There's been some systems. I'm working on automating more for Moxie, for the processes that I've been taking far too many steps. So I'm in the process of that, but I'm probably investing in some help with more automation, but definitely the computer probably could stand an upgrade.
Yeah.
Several computers.
Yeah, you still have quite a bit of money left, but
yes, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a really good question.
Well, and maybe $1 million is too much for your business, or maybe I need to change the question altogether, because $1 million is a lot of money. And
$1 million for me, it's for Moxie, it's a lot right now. We're still very small and new, but I'm hoping that will change soon, and I will. Ask me again in another 2 years and I'll have a different answer for you.
Okay. All right. I'll hold you to that.
Okay.
What profession have you always admired? Or is there a profession out there that if I had to do it all over again, I would have done this?
What I wanted to do when I was a kid, I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be an actress or a dancer or something like that. I don't know. I really love what I do now. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Right.
So I admire these fabulous people who've got these great ideas. And I can't say it's any particular industry, but I've been meeting them these last 6 months, and it's just blowing my mind. How did you even think of that?
I have this conversation all the time on this podcast segment that when I was in high school, there were these buckets that you got to try and pick from, right? You want to be a fireman? There's a fireman bucket, a policeman bucket, a armed going to the military bucket, and as sexist as it was for women, it was the nursing bucket, and accounting bucket, engineer bucket, and there was just these buckets, and it felt like there was probably only maybe a dozen different buckets. Probably more, but it just felt like there weren't a lot of buckets, and you had to kind of choose, and it was scary. And I tell my kids, really, the buckets are infinite. You can invent a bucket, and it's not flaky. I mean, you could invent a bucket back then, but it was flaky. But now it's like totally legit.
My daughter's looking at being a fabric designer. Like she's really artistic, and she's like, I think I could make good fabric designs. I'm like, well, why not? Let's look into why not?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Okay. A good opportunity for you? What would be a good referral, or somebody listening here today? Good opportunity. Best way to get a hold of you.
Okay, good opportunity. Solopreneurs, super small, startup-y type that are suffering from Winnie the Pooh syndrome. that are I've got so much on my plate, and I can't stop running fast enough to think about how to, you know, what I can do without, how I can offload. That's the craziest one. And best way to get in touch with me, schedule a one-on-one with me. It's meetmoxie.today.
Okay. Meetmoxie.today, and we will put that in the show notes. So I really appreciate your time here today.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you, Frank.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.